It is 11 o'clock. How's everybody doing? It's stream time. Just kind of getting things, wow, muted. We're going to mute some stuff here because you can hear I'm talking and that's not good. So there we go. All right, all muted out and ready to roll. Let me just get things organized now because what I do is I stream on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. So Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch, all three simultaneously at the same time, which is kind of what simultaneously means, right? But what I do is I put all the windows kind of stacked up so that I can see comments coming in if there are any comments. So if you do have comments, please be sure to drop them into the comment box on the side. I think on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, you have to expand the window open all the way, the viewing window. So when you watch the live video, if you're just watching a little teeny window on the side, you don't get the comment window. So if you open it up to watch the large window, which why wouldn't you? I spent all this money on cameras. Come on, you really want to see everything, don't you? So make it big. Anyway, if you expand that to the large size, you'll see the comment window. And that way you can drop a comment in if you want to. But I have to move them all in and get them kind of separated and set on the sides here. And now we're good. Just takes me a minute, and I can't do it really until I go live. So sometimes I'm just a minute or two behind the track there. I do try to answer questions and comments and such as I go. Sometimes it's hard depending on what I'm doing in the shop. If I'm actively working in a machine or whatever, I may not see your comments for a little bit. But I do check periodically just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So don't think I'm ignoring you. I just don't see your comment right at that time. Okay, what are we doing? Let's see. How was your weekend? Mine was pretty good. Got some stuff done, not necessarily in the shop, but it was productive, and I'm going to share some of that productivity with you in just a moment. I did get a bike ride out. So last week, it was a little weird on the shop on Friday. I actually installed new handlebars on my bicycle, which is not really a shop thing, but I did it in the shop. So here's the old handlebars. So I put new handlebars on my mountain bike, and then I took it for a ride yesterday. And wow, it was so great. The new handlebars were awesome, and they actually have more lift and sweep back to them. So it actually got me into a different riding position, which felt much more comfortable. So I was happy about that. And I might take it out to a trail this week. I'm thinking we've got some trails in the area, and I might put it on the back of the car, drive out to a trail, and do some trail riding this week too. That will not be live streamed. Let's see what else. So if you were here last week, on Friday, I pulled out this box that I found in my basement right here. Oh, there's another bag in there. I forgot. Anyway, I found this box in my basement. This box on the label here, it says, you can't read it, but it says Bender Photographic. And then on the little label right here, it says Bender View Camera Kits. So many, many years ago, when I was just a lad in my 20s, most likely, mid-20s, I think, I purchased a 4x5 view camera kit. And I had all these intentions of putting this thing together, building it myself, because it was actually much less expensive than buying a new camera or even a used one, because view cameras were very expensive at that time. A view camera is a 4x5, so it uses 4x5 inch film that would go in a holder. You'd slide that in the back, has a lens on the front. It's just a big giant camera, but it was really, if you wanted to do serious landscape things like, that, or commercial photography, or anything that was like studio work or landscape work, you needed a large format camera. It was just the thing. And now everybody just whips out their 50 megapixel digital cameras and poof, they're done. But at that point in time, that was still early in my photography career, and I was really, really into photography and doing processing my own negatives and, shooting on different formats and things like that. And so I really wanted a large format camera. I bought this kit. with like the best intentions of putting it all together and doing stuff. And then I didn't. So it all kind of went back in the box. I'm not sure what happened and why I didn't complete it, other than maybe it was more than I could deal with at the time, with, you know, lack of tools and such things, that maybe I thought, oh, this would be easy to do. And I thought perhaps it was more like an erector set. It was not. It actually takes, so you got to do some gluing and sanding and drilling and things like that. And I don't think I was equipped to do that back in the day. Fast forward to just a little while ago, I found this in the basement when I was going through some stuff, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I forgot all about this. It's really pretty. It's cherry. All the little pieces here are cherry. I love cherry. I do tons of work now. I have a full shop that I could easily, that's the key word, easily, put this together. So I pulled out all the pieces on Friday on the stream. I have no idea why I'm doing this. I was rubbing and then I just left it there. That's weird. Anyway, I pulled it out Friday and I was going through all the pieces and parts and such. And I was like, oh my God, this thing is just one massive, massive jigsaw puzzle. I had no idea what was going on here. I mean, I know what a view camera looks like, and I pulled up pictures and I knew what the camera was supposed to look like, but I had no idea what all of these pieces and parts and such were and how they were supposed to go together. And the reason for that is that I had no instruction manual. I don't know where it is. I mean, probably it's in another box somewhere downstairs in my basement, but I have no clue. I have no clue where it would be. I haven't seen it in years. And so I was a little sad at the end of the process of pulling all the parts out, which is what I have here. These are all the parts and pieces. You can see I've got all that, well, that's a coffee cup, but you can see I've got all these pieces and parts laid out here. And I was trying to take an accounting of what I had to think, well, you know, I can just look at a picture and I should be able to put this thing together without any problem, right? Because, you know, I'm a woodworker and you know, I'm a photographer and I should be able to nail this down, right? Yeah, not so much. Honestly, this is like a big jigsaw puzzle. And it was a jigsaw puzzle, like if you get a jigsaw puzzle, but you don't know what the puzzle looks like when it's done, it's kind of pretty hard to put one together if you have no idea what goes where. And that was kind of where I was. I mean, I could identify some pieces, like this is a lens board. That's easy. And then this was the front standard for the lens board, right here. So this is the front standard for the lens board. And it was already kind of assembled, but not really. And so I started going through all these things and I'm like, oh, I've got all these pieces right here. Like, look at all these little pieces. I have no idea where all these little pieces go. There's all these little sticks right here. They're all little cherry sticks and such. No, 4 is any better. Not really. Let's go back to 1. So anyway, long story short, I just was kind of stuck. I had no idea what to do with any of this stuff. I did get some bags and started putting some things, like all the hardware, the screws and everything else. I put them all in the bags so I wouldn't lose them, little star knobs and such, because I'm like, well, you know, if nothing else, I want to keep from losing the pieces that I do have. But the problem was I didn't know if I had all the pieces. It was difficult to tell. I mean, I really didn't know. Now, young me went through and numbered all of these pieces. That's my handwriting. So these didn't come numbered from the factory. That's my handwriting. I numbered all of these. I'm going to show you here. So if you can see, there's a little number right there. This one is number 22. And so I numbered all of these pieces to get a good idea of, you know, and that's, I'll tell you, well, let me circle back to that in a minute. So they're all numbered, but I have no idea what those numbers mean. And I was like, man, I can't move forward unless I have some sort of guidance here. I need guidance. I need an instruction manual. I mean, I'm good at building things in the shop, pretty good. I mean, I don't want to say I'm an expert, but I'm pretty good. I hold my own, especially when I have plans to work from. I love working from plans. I can modify them if I need to, but I love to have an instruction set to start with. And I'm just kidding, it was an order. I didn't have that. So I said, well, you know what? It's 2021, everything's on the internet. You can find anything. I don't keep my instruction manuals anymore. I toss them when I get them usually because, well, I go online, I look to make sure there's a copy of it, a digital copy of it, like a PDF format. If there is, I download the PDF and then I toss the instructions because they just kind of get lost and shoved in drawers and everything else. But the PDF ones, I can keep those organized in folders and keep them on my drives and have access to them all the time. And that's normally what I do now. When I get a new tool, I go make sure there's a PDF download, and there almost always is a PDF download for that instruction manual, and usually it's more detailed than the one that you get. In fact, a lot of companies now, they're like, go to this place and download your manual. They don't even bother with the expense of printing it, which is actually kind of smart, and that way, you know, it's better for the environment and everything else. So I was like, well, let me go and download the manual for this thing. Easy peasy, let's get moving. That's not a thing. So this camera was purchased probably in the probably the late 80s. I'm going to say it was purchased in the late 80s. Yes, I'm old, I understand. But at that point in time, there wasn't even, like, maybe some professor at some university was thinking about what the internet could be, but it wasn't really called the internet. I think it was the World Wide Web, and they were thinking about it, but they hadn't really done anything about it. And the company that created this, Bender Photographic, I believe they finally shut down shop in the mid-90s, maybe 96, which was just at the beginnings of the internet accessibility and the web. It was really very, very cryptic, and there wasn't a lot of people, and there wasn't a lot of resources still on there. It was just getting started and booming and building. So the resources for this, they didn't exist. And I dug everywhere. I mean, I can dig pretty well. You know, I can Google with the best of them, and man, I could not find almost any information. Now, I found some reference material, like other people who had done builds. I had found some photos and some people talking about it in some forums, like way back in 1998 or whatever. I mean, really old forums and such that are archived. But I couldn't find a set of plans anywhere. And that took me to YouTube, which is actually the second largest search engine in the world. If you didn't know that, it is. And so I started looking on YouTube for Bender camera kit and Bender 4x5 camera and Bender photographic and just anything I could to find information on this stuff. What I came across was a gentleman whose name is Ross. I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name at the moment, but Ross actually had this kit. He had gotten it third party or whatever. He didn't buy it originally. He got it in a box that somebody else had that didn't do it. So it was like second or third person to actually have the kit. But he got it. He actually did 4 videos, I think, of him putting it together. But the first video was the one that got me the most excited because his opening shot was the box with all the materials inside, and laying on top was an instruction manual. And I was like, oh, that's what I need. I need that instruction manual. Oh my gosh, that's my missing piece right there. So I did what any normal person would. I wrote a comment and said, dude, I need to buy your instruction manual from you. I mean, he didn't need it anymore. He built his camera, right? I said, I need to buy this from you. Please just email me. You know, and the video was 3 or 4 years old. So I was hoping he would see the comment because a lot of people post some stuff and then they abandon their YouTube channels and they don't really follow up with them or do anything. But lo and behold, on Friday afternoon, I got an email from him and he said, hey, or no, was it an email or a comment? I think it was a comment that he responded back and he said, hey, don't worry about buying. I'll just take pictures and send them to you. I was like, oh my Lord, that is so awesome. Photographers and woodworkers are really nice people. That's all I can say. And usually. It's a nice community. There's some great communities out there. Woodworking community is awesome. Photographer community is awesome. Put them together and oh my God, it's great. Anyway, he sent me a whole bunch of photos. Now it was like 2 picture spreads or whatever. So me being me, I took those and opened up Photoshop and squared them up and made individuals. And the end result is this. I now have a complete instruction manual. All the goodies are here. Let me, let's go down here. Look at that. All the goodies are here. The tools and supplies. This right here. This, this is the big thing right here too. This is the parts list right here. Very detailed parts list. And I have his notes about what parts were in his or what should be there. And some of them, there were some revisions to the notes, and he already made notations on here with the exact size of the pieces of wood and everything else. This is awesome. One of the first steps that they talk about in the manual as I was reading is pull out all of your pieces of wood and then number them, number the parts, which is, I think, what I did when I was a youngster. That's why they all have parts numbers. So if I look at number 22, this should be a 3/8 by 3/4 by 6 11/16. Now, I'm going to say that's 3/8. I'm going to say that's not 3/4. That is not that is more like 1 1/4 inches. But it is probably 6 11/16. Is that what number 22 is there? 6. No, this is not. So even this is wrong. This is 7.5. So I would have to find a piece that was like 7.5 inches long. There we go. So this should be like number 9. So apparently I didn't even have a ruler when I was a youngster to measure and mark things with. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. That's the first time I actually looked at that. So these need to be renumbered apparently. But what I need to do is take an accounting of the pieces that I do have. I'm so thrilled to have this, and Ross, you're a boss. That's all I can say. Such a super thing to have this. I put a link to his, to the first video in his series. So there's a link in the description if you want to go and look and see. But yeah, he responded back with all these. He took photos of every single one, and then I went and printed them all out. And so I have the entire set of instructions here for assembly. And that is just really, really, I'm so grateful that people can be so kind, and that we live in a world where, you know, you can reach out to people. I don't have no idea where Ross lives. He could live in Alaska or Canada, or I have no idea where he lives. But you know what? He was able to send this to me, and that is fantastic. There's also a very large picture on the back here. So this is what the camera looks like from the back, what the camera looks like from the front. There's also on this page, which I thought was great, is another picture of the front, or the back and the front of the camera. So I can use those as reference as well. And not only that, but there are, like I said, these were revisions to the camera from like 1993. And so it talks about, oh, page 2, this should be this, not that, and page 8 and 9. So it has some revisions that go with those instructions. And then this is another page of revisions right here. And yeah. And then this is the best part, is like there's a parts list. Not that I could actually order any parts, because I couldn't, because they don't exist anymore. Bender Photographic in Leavenworth, Washington, I believe is probably no longer there. But the great thing is that I have all these dimensions now. So as I look through here and I'm looking through these parts, because I've got to be missing some things. That's the first thing, is I'm looking through here, and I was looking at the build stuff, and I was like, I know I'm missing a couple of pieces in here. I know I don't have some stuff, because I should have like 3 sections that are like this, with little things like this that go on top of them or whatever. And I don't have but one of these. And I'm like, okay. I also found out what this is for. This is a piece that you use to size stuff up with and glue and attach. And so a little scrap piece of the railing. So it was kind of nice to see what that was for. But what I did find out is that I believe I'm missing pieces. And I need to go through and do an accounting of exactly which pieces I have and which pieces I don't have, which is going to be a little hard because I have some of this assembled already. I mean, I could probably disassemble, but like the lens board holder, I think I've got all that put together. But I need to go through and see what I've got, do an accounting. And then the great thing is that because I am a woodworker and because I work in cherry all the time, I have like just tons of little pieces of scrap cherry, like all over the place. I've got big pieces of cherry, little pieces of cherry, thick pieces. So if I need to manufacture some of my own pieces, I'm very confident now that I have the exact measurements and I know what they're supposed to look like. I mean, there might be a couple of things where I'd have to go out and buy a couple of T-nuts or whatever. Or a couple of star knobs if I needed to, but those are easy to get. I can get that stuff at the hardware store. But the exact measurements and what I'm supposed to have and what I'm missing, that was so key. So I'm very excited about this. That came in, like I said, I think it came in Friday or Saturday. Maybe it was Saturday that he sent the final photos. And I was just jacked up excited. I was like, man, this is like the best day ever. So yeah, so that was very exciting. I think today I need to, this will be a little boring, but it is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go and take an accounting of this stuff and see what I have and don't have. Like these monorail riders, which is what these little pieces are. They will ride the monorail. Monorail. It just takes me back to a Simpson episode. But these little monorail riders, like this little thing right here, this thing right here. I need these little monorail riders. Like I said, I only can find the pieces for one of them. I need 3 of them. 3 of them? I don't know, look at a picture. I need 2 of them. Yeah, 2 of them to ride the monorail. I only see 1. And I'm probably gonna have to recreate one of those pieces there. But I need to figure out what I have and what I don't have, and we will go from there. Yeah, so that'll be kind of interesting. But that's what I'm going to do in a couple of minutes. I'm going to start going through all this stuff and really kind of figure out what I have, what I don't have, what I can do to, what I need to recreate and what I can put together. And then I can start putting this whole thing together and really kind of build it. That's my whole thing, is I just want to make this. And I've got the bellows here. It's never been out of the packaging. The bellows is the accordion piece that goes between the lens and the film plane. But I've got this, and I've got all these pieces, and I think I have all the important pieces. And yeah, it's just, I would really like to just bring this home. I don't know that I would ever use it. I don't know that I'm going to shoot 4x5 film ever again. But I do know that I could put it on my shelf. I can clean it up and put some finish on there, make it look really pretty, and it would look really nice sitting on my shelf with my other antique cameras that I have. So, and it's just a little closure from my youth, I think. If nothing else, just to say, you know what, I did actually finish a project. So anyway, before I move to that, also on Friday, I received a message from a very nice lady that I had previously built a sewing machine base for. So she had purchased one of my bases back a while ago, and she is getting married again. I guess she's been a widower for quite some time, and she's going to get married again. And she's like, you know, I'm looking for a Unity cross, and do you do those? Do you make those? And I was like, I have no idea what that is. That's not really in my wheelhouse, but apparently it's a thing. And I'm like, I don't even know what it is. So she sent me a YouTube video link of some guy who makes them. I don't know if he sells them on Etsy or whatever, but I started doing some exploring just to kind of find out what a Unity Cross is, how much work would it be, because she's asking if I could make one. You know, she would obviously pay for it and whatever. And normally I don't do like special order requests and such, but as I started looking at it, I said, you know, maybe it's something I could sell on my YouTube page, or not YouTube, my Etsy page. If I can come up with a process where it's simple enough to make, then maybe it's something that I could turn some out and make some. So I said, well, let me look and see what's available, what people are charging for them, because that's the other thing too. If it's like something where it's like, oh, you got to do a bunch of work, but they're only getting like $10 a piece for them, it's not really worth the effort. And so the first thing I had to do was a little research. So that's where I started. Let me set all this stuff aside for a minute, and I'll kind of share a little of what I found. Because like I said, this was new to me. I hadn't done any of this type of stuff before. So let me switch screens here, and there we go. So the first thing I did was I went to the YouTubes or to the Google, and I said, yeah, I need Unity Cross. And as I started pulling through, I was like, wow, there's a bunch of different designs here. And the one that she sent me the video for was a very simple design. But so the whole premise of this is that you have an outer cross, and then there's an inner cross that during a ceremony of some sort, during the wedding ceremony of some sort, during the wedding ceremony, it's kind of like, you know, lighting a Unity candle or whatever. Well, this is the thing where there's an outer cross and inner cross. You put the inner cross inside the outer cross, and then there's like usually some pins that go in there to hold it all together. And that is the forming of the union of the couple and how Christ resides inside. I don't know. Anyway. I don't get into the whole religious aspect of it. I just was looking at the woodworking aspect of it. You know, the symbology of it, I kind of understand, but there's some very fancy ones here too, by the way. So you look at something like this, look at that internal cross. I mean, that's some crazy, yeah. So that's not going to work. That ain't happening. There's other ones like this one. This one does not really have an inner cross to it. So I was like, okay, so you can see there's like a gazillion designs. This one has like a rope cross. I guess that gets nailed to the wooden cross. So tons and tons of designs. And I was like, well, okay, there's a lot of designs there. I'm not really sure what to go with. I did have the video that the guy made, and I looked at that just as an idea. Now here's one with like an inner cross, like a thin cross inside of a thicker cross thing. But really, I was just like, okay, well, what can I do to make this functional, workable, and yet, you know, something that I could sell but still be profitable? And like I said, I went to Etsy and looked at Etsy to see if I could find some stuff. Well, what I found, let me see if it's this page, on Wood Magazine's website, because, you know, I told you a while back, Wood Magazine is pretty awesome. And they do actually have projects that they put not only in the magazine, but on their website. So it's a really good resource. And this, if you look, this is kind of the idea that she was looking at, which is what they called nesting crosses, which is also a Unity cross. So basically you've got an outer cross, you've got an inner cross, and you've got a stand. And this is a great little breakdown. It gives you tools and such. Now, this is like this is more work than I would want to do. You can see that they're doing a little framework. Whoop, I don't want to run over there. There's a framework for the outer frames, and then they made this jig so they could glue it all up. And so there's the outer cross right there, and then they make the inner cross, which kind of fits inside there, and then they have to go and do a bunch of stuff to it. So anyway, it kind of looks like that when it's done with them both together, and then they put finish on there so that the outer one is a different color than the inner one. And in the end, you drill some holes for some pins or, you know, some dowels or something that you could put in there. And then they can use like a little hammer to just tap those in. So, yeah, and then that's kind of the end of it right there. And I was looking at that and I was like, okay, so they've got this outer cross that they made that has a back to it, and then it's kind of has space in the middle where you can insert this middle cross that is just basically a half lap, two pieces of wood half lap together at the top to make the cross. And then they made a couple of stands. And then you put these all together, you drill some holes, and then you have some pins that you could drop in there, right? Not overly complicated, but the whole thing with the jig and assembling stuff, I was like, okay, that takes it to a whole new. Now, I understand once you have the jig, you know, you're probably okay, but you still have those miter cuts and getting all the lengths right with the miter cuts to have all those things match up. And miter cuts, you need really to be exact, because I'm going to zoom in here so you can see all those miter cuts in those corners. Those are really nice tight miter cuts, and I think even if I can get to the edge here, yeah, there's miter cuts. So these are like little frames all the way around this thing. So look at all those miter cuts. So each one of those corners is a miter that's 45 that has to be perfect, and all of your pieces of wood have to be the exact correct size to do that. And I'm like, okay, that's a little more precision in detail than I would like to get involved in, because honestly, if I'm going to make these things and if I want to make them repeatable, that's probably more work than I want to deal with. Oh, I got to chug down the rest of this coffee because it's getting cold. It was nice and toasty, warm, and delicious earlier. But anyway, so I took this. Oh, and here's the stand that they made. So let's see if I can click that. No, I hate this little zoomy thing because it's like too much of a zoom. But anyway, you can see that there's the stand that they made for this. I wish I had a better angle of it. I guess there's one in the back there too that you can look at. There you go. So there's a stand right there. It's just got a little stand-up piece behind it, and then this little frame right here that it rests in. It has a notch where that piece resides, which that's kind of cool. So you would take these two things and have them setting on an altar or whatever, and then somebody would take the one, stick it in the other, and then they would put the pins in as a couple, and blah, blah, blah. Bob's your uncle, you're all done. Mazel tov. All right, so there's the kind of general design. I was like, well, okay, how can I make this, but make it so that it's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more of a more of a faster way, that I still get all this precision, but I don't have to have all those critical miter cuts. And because here's the thing, I would not necessarily want to do those on my compound miter saw. Those are really small pieces of wood, and the compound miter saw, that's kind of like using a blowtorch to start your barbecue. It's probably more than you need. So what you really should use for something like that is a sled on your table saw that you can do like a framing sled to make picture frames and such. And I do not have one of those. I'm thinking about making one, but right now I don't have one. So how can I do this? Well, what I do have is, oh shoot, stop it. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, hit the wrong button almost. So what I do have is, I've got this machine behind me right here. That machine right there, it kind of sits there all the time. You see the monitor behind me and such. That's my CNC. That's my X-Carve. So I started looking at this project and going, all right, if I was going to use my CNC machine, how would I go about making that? Because here's the thing, the inner cross is easy. It's two pieces of wood half lapped. That's all it is. You get two pieces of wood, you know, you cut them and then you half lap them, which means you cut a notch in one that's half the depth, and then a notch in the other one that's half the depth, and then they fit together like this. I mean, it's just, that's it. That's easy. The outer cross is where all the magic is, if you will. It's like, well, how can I do that? Well, let's see. Let me go back to my webcam here and I'll show you, because I use a program on my, I have to find the right window here. There we go. So I use the stock program that comes with the Xcarve, which is called Easel. It's their software to do 3D carving. And there are much more complicated and better programs for doing 3D carving, but they're expensive and they're complicated and blah, blah, blah. I love this. The Easel for me, for everything I do, just works. So let me find that. There we go. So this is what I came up with. And this is the Easel program. There's a left side here that you're looking at is the basic components, and then you set cut depths and such for them. Like if I click on this part right here, I can set the depth of cut for that. If I go to the outer ring right here, I can set the depth of cut for the outer ring. If it's going to be cutting all the way through and blah, blah, blah. So this is where I set up the actual geometry. And this was, I think I imported an SVG file, which is it's a graphics format that CNC machines like. They like SVG files because it's a vector graphic, which means that unlike a picture, like a JPEG or something like that, that's made of pixels, a vector graphic is just made of coordinates. And then that means you can make it as large or as small as you want, and it will not change the quality of that picture, because it's just coordinates that are expanded out or contracted in. So that's a vector graphic. And I found a picture of a cross, and my computer just spoke to me back there. It says, come on, let's do something. But anyway, I found a cross, I put it down here, and I said, well, I would do an outside cut on there. And then on the interior, I made two rectangles, because you can choose a tool up here. It has a little tool thing. I could choose a rectangle, and then I can resize that rectangle to be whatever size I want to. I can make it tall or skinny, or I'm trying to do this here where I can see, but oh, stop it. I'm kind of, I'm not using the keyboard. So anyway, this little piece right here, bring to front. And I'm doing this from across the room, so I can't really see either. I don't want to align it left. I want to bring forward, bring to front. There we go. No, I want to send this piece to the back. So I'm going to send this one to the back, and I'm going to grab this one. I'm trying to grab this piece. Anyway, I just want to grab this little piece right here that I just put on there. Click out of there. There we go. There's the little piece. And you should be able to resize it. There you go. So I can make it bigger this way. I can make it thinner, make it taller. And that's what I did. I just dragged one of these out until and then I made another one going across, and that made the cross. And I can also control how deep that carve would be. So if I go here and I've got that one highlighted, I could make it go all the way through the wood, and then it's a hole, or I could just do a very shallow cut. So I can do all those things to it, but I need to delete this now. Let's delete this, if I can find it. I can't find delete on there. Anyway, let me cut that. There we go, cut it. There we go, got rid of it. So my idea was, okay, if I can make this outer cross area, and then I can carve it deep, like 3/4 of an inch deep. On the right here is a rendering. This is what it would look like after it's carved. And you can see, if I tilt this around, you can hopefully see, and I'll zoom in here. So you can see that this is carved deep, like 3/4 of an inch deep. The outer cross would just be it would be carved all the way through. So there'd be about 1/4 of an inch of wood. If this is, I basically went with the premise that this would be about 3/4 or 1 inch thick. So this would be like a 1 inch thick board right here, right? I could carve out this 3/4 of an inch recess inside there, and then I could just measure my pieces of wood to make up the other piece that would go inside. So that's kind of what I come up with. Now, doing it this way requires me to have a piece of wood, obviously, that is, I think I made this like 8 by 10 inches, so 8 inches by 10 inches. This would require me to actually have a board that is 1 inch thick by 8 inches by 10 inches to do this, maybe even a little larger. Because I would probably carve the pocket first, and then I would carve the outer ring or the outer carve, which actually removes this and carves all the way through. So I could do that, or I could, I was looking through scrap wood and I was like, well, I wonder what I have in terms of scrap wood that I could use. And maybe I could just make a large cross, and then in the large cross, I could just carve this section out of the large cross. I could do that. I mean, it would just require me to be really precise with my measurements and where I was carving from. And one way to do that is to have a really precise zero spot. So like I would move this down to the 0 right here. And even though it looks like I'm not going to be carving on the wood, because my 0 spot is in this corner, it would be right here in the center of the cross. What I would then be doing is making that my start point, and I would just put it in the middle. It's kind of hard to explain, but it works. Instead of putting it here, when you do it this way, what you have to do is you have to go to the very corner of the piece of wood and call that your 0 point, and then hope that, you know, your measurements are all good. So, I mean, that's kind of a CNC thing, and it really isn't that important. But what is that this, if I get the beginning piece of wood, right, even if it's just, like I said, if I just do a piece of wood that's a 8 by 10 inch piece of wood, this would be really simple to carve this into. That's 2 carvings. Now, it would take a while because carving 3/4 of an inch, depending on how hard the wood is, if I did something like ash, oh my God, that would take forever. If I did, and I wouldn't want to do, like I would probably do the interior with, let me go back here. I would probably do the interior with like a walnut, and I'm thinking the exterior could be something light, like maybe cherry, or maybe maple. If I got some soft maple, I don't know if I'd want to use hard maple, because that's just a lot of carving. The other thing is that the carving, depending on the bit that I use to carve out that whole interior cross area, if I want really tight corners, I would have to use something like an 1/8 inch bit. That would probably be about like 6 hours of carving to get 3/4 of an inch deep and cut a whole pocket, which is what you call that when you remove all that material from the inside. That's called carving a pocket. To carve an entire pocket with an 1/8 inch bit that's 3/4 of an inch deep would be hours and hours to do that. And to alleviate that, what I would most likely do is use a 1/4 inch, like a downcut spiral bit, which would give me a nice finished surface on the bottom of the pocket. So wherever it's carving down into, whatever it hits on the bottom would be nice and smooth at the bottom, would require very little cleanup. And then the top edge is easy because you just sand that off. If I use a 1/4 inch bit, it would still take a while, but it would not be nearly as problematic as using an 1/8 inch bit, because you're removing twice as much wood, plus the bit is much more sturdy, and I could move at a faster rate and faster feed. And that's kind of the balancing act of doing CNC carving, is figuring out how deep and how fast you can move that bit through the wood. And there's variables. So how hard is the wood is probably the biggest one. that if you're working with a very hard wood, you don't want to take big bites because you're going to heat your bit, you're going to stress the bit, and then the last thing you want is a bit to break during the middle of a cut. You get an hour and a half in and all of a sudden your bit breaks, and it's really, you can't really start over again. You'd have to replace the bit, replace the wood and everything else. So that's why I'm thinking using a larger bit would be kind of cool. So now I need to figure out, well, what kind of wood do I want to use for that? The one thing I was thinking, well, like I've got this, which is kind of cool. This isn't walnut, but this is, trying to think of what they call this. Torrefied oak is what this is. And it's basically, it's like, you can smell it. It smells like it's burned almost. I don't know if you've heard of like roasted maple. Well, this is like oven cooked oak. It's super hard. It's super dry. Like the moisture content in this is probably like 2%. It is super dry. And I got like bundles of these at one point in time. I was like, oh, I could make stuff out of these that are really cool, like sewing machine bases and stuff. But the problem I found is that they kind of splinter a lot more because they are so dry. But yeah, this is all oak that has been torrefied, but it would look kind of cool as a cross, right? I could cut 2 strips, cut this in half, and then half lap them. So that would be kind of cool, right? It's not walnut, but then again, does it need to be? Now, the other thing I was thinking was, and this would be a little bit more difficult, although I could give it a try. So this is a piece of ash. This is just from my lumber stack over there. You probably should be in my scrap bin because I don't know what I would use it for, but well, hey, maybe now. If you put one inside the other, right? Now you've got the, here, let me hold it this way and we look. There we go. Right there. So, you know, you've got an outer and an inner piece, right? Not bad, not bad. What I would need to do with this is just what I would have to do with that. I would have to take this piece, cut it down into 2 pieces, and then I would have to, and then clean it up because it's rough cut on both sides here. But I would have to half lap it together and make a cross, and then put this on the CNC and have the CNC cut the pocket out that this piece would go in. And I think I could probably do that. And I think that would look kind of cool. I mean, you've got a light and a dark piece there, and that looks really nice together. I mean, I do have some, I don't know that I have any walnut scraps that are like this thick type stuff that I would use on that. But the nice thing is that this is an inch, I think this is an inch wide, and there we go. So I think this is an inch wide right here. Yeah, so this is 1 inch wide, and I don't know how many wide it is this way, 2 inches maybe? Yeah, 2.5. So it's 2.5 inches wide. So I could basically cut a 1 inch strip across this way and then take this down to 3/4. Or if I did a 3/4 inch pocket, and this would be kind of cool. I was thinking of this. If I did a 3/4 inch deep pocket and I left something like this at 1 inch, it would stick out from the outer cross. This would actually be inside, but it would stick out by about 1/4 inch. And that would be kind of cool because then it would, you know, anyway, it would give depth to it. So that was kind of my thought on that, was going to, you know, my CNC and making something like this, cutting it out. And I was like, okay, well, I need this big piece of wood and everything else. When I found that piece of ash, and I was like, ooh, if I created the cross with the ash and then carved out in the middle of that. Now, what it would require me to do, like I said, is the half laps, and then I would have to do the carving, which would take quite a while because it is ash and it would take a long time to carve that ash. But my thought process was I only have to do 1 carve because I would only need to carve this interior, I would not need to do the carve on the outside to separate it from a larger piece of wood. And then also with this, you're gonna have a lot of waste wood. In all these corners right here, each one of these corners is waste wood. So you wouldn't really be able to do anything with that wood. It's just kind of toss away stuff. And I don't know, I think if I could make this happen, that would be kind of cool. And then, you know, I could do a couple of little stands or whatever, and that would be nice. But just thinking about that, I was like, ooh, that can be, and the other thing is I don't have a big piece of wood. Now, if I go to the lumber store, if I go to the wood yard, you know, and where I get my wood, and when I make a trip there and just say, hey, you know, let me pick up some wood that I could do some 8x10 pieces out of, that would be really easy. Right now, all of my stock, I'd have to look and see. I don't know if I have anything that wide. Because I chopped up most of my stock to make bases. So most of my leftover cherry stock ended up looking like this. So all my wide pieces got ripped down to 3-inch pieces, and now I have nothing wide. I have like this large piece right here, which would be very cool. It's all maple, but the problem is this is 3/4 of an inch, and that's too thin, I think. I would want something at least 1 inch thick that I could do a 3/4 inch pocket, and then do a 1 inch thick cross to fit inside there. Because the other thing is I have to have holes in each end to insert dowels, because that's part of the whole joining process of this. So I would have to have a way to stick the little dowels in there, and yeah. So wood is something that I really need to consider. The other thing, she's like, well, if you could do it, I'd need it by July. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's actually not too bad. Now, by me saying this, please don't start sending me requests for doing woodworking projects for you. I considered this just because I was like, it sounded something to me that like I could do, and it would be a challenge for me, but it would be something that if I figured out a way to do it economically, time-wise, and wood-wise, then it would be maybe something that I could batch out, because that's the way I like to look at my projects is, you know, it's not like they're just cheaply done, but I like to be able to make more than one at a time and batch them out so that it makes the most of my time. If it's something I can do on my CNC machine, oh my gosh, I'm all over that, because my CNC machine is my employee that I don't have to worry about. I just set him up, turn him loose, and he gets to work. And I just go back and check on it and change wood out every now and then, and it just keeps working. So it's kind of like my free employee. Well, he wasn't free, but he's more than paid for himself by now. But if it's something I can do there, then I'm free to do other things in the shop while that's working. Or I can go and do other things and come back periodically and check on it. So CNC projects like this are really nice. To me, it doesn't diminish the cost at all of the project, because I still have to go through the entire process of creating it, setting it up, doing everything there. The only thing I'm not doing is sitting there with a chisel and carving the wood out myself. Which, by the way, when I was talking about the bits, if I used a rounded bit, I would either have to round the edges of the cross, wouldn't look very good, or I'll have to get a chisel and actually square up the corners, which is probably what I'll end up having to do. So that in itself is still manual work that I would have to do to clean up those corners. And so it still would require some hand finishing and such from me to be able to make these things, but I think that would be manageable. So I can go through maybe and find some wood that I could use as a test run. And I'm just looking through my scrap piles and seeing if I have anything that would possibly work. I think the biggest thing is I don't have anything really wide, like 8 inches wide. And I think that's the minimum I would want to do is 8 inches. And I kind of looking at some of the ones online that I saw, that was kind of the spec on them. And I think that's kind of the normal. It doesn't need to be huge. But anyway, I think that's probably something I will do off camera is look through some wood And also, I don't normally do my CNC carving on camera with you guys live because it's noisy, it's loud. I can't really do a whole lot else. I can't talk. I can't do anything else while it's working in terms of live streaming. So, and it's not very exciting to watch because there's a dustbin and it just makes circles and just keeps going over and over and deeper and deeper. So it's not exciting to watch, but it would be something I think cool for me to explore. So I think that's where I'm going to go with that, is look at a couple of different options. And then if I figure something out, then I'll come back to her and say, hey, yeah, I could do this for you. And then we'll figure out what a price would be before I move forward to make, one for her. We would figure out what the price would be and such. If it was acceptable to her on the price, then yeah, we would go ahead and do something like that. What else do I got going on? So that's a project that I'm going to be working on kind of off camera, at least to start with. And I'll show you progress of that, hopefully maybe Wednesday. I think I'll work on that some today and off camera, and tomorrow maybe. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. And that's just like I said, a new little project. I also have a lot of finishing to do. I still need to finish staining my knockdown table. I really should get on that because they're just big pieces now. There's nothing really, it's just slather it on and wipe it off. There's not a lot of technical stuff to the staining. It's just I need the room for it to do that. And then I need to start spraying my lacquer on my bases. So these bases have all been sitting here now for a few days after they've been stained. And that stain has had plenty of time now to dry. And it's an oil-based stain. So I like to let it cure a little bit. The oil will cure and dry so that it now will accept my lacquer like nothing. It'll lay down really nicely. But I have 5 of them to go, and the spraying part is weather dependent because I like to open the door here. There's a lot of stuff flying around outside. It's also been a little rainy lately. It's spring. It's not warm. I need usually about 65 to 75 degrees is a really good temp for spraying lacquer, and fairly low humidity. If it's like, I can't spray lacquer in the summer. I mean, it's hot enough, but the humidity around here, I get, there's a technical term for it, but basically what it does is moisture. There's so much moisture in the air that it clouds the lacquer. It's pulling water in. And then I have to go and respray to try to get the water to lift out. It's a pain. So humidity is not your friend when you're spraying lacquer, but warm temps are, because then your finish dries faster. And like I said, I've got 5 of those to lacquer. Hopefully I can get them kind of in a round robin thing where I can do one, lift it, move it, spray another one, lift it, move it, spray another one, lift it, move it. And then by the time I'm done with that third one, it's time for the first one to come back and get another rotation, because it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes between coats on my lacquer. And I find that's usually plenty. So I don't think if you read the instructions like, oh, wait an hour or whatever, you do not need to wait an hour for lacquer. Anybody who waits an hour for lacquer, I don't know. You're way overthinking the process. If it's dry to the touch for lacquer, it's dry enough for another coat, because lacquer has solvents and it melts into itself. So you're just kind of melting layer on top of layer. It doesn't need to be completely dry. Now, if you're going to be doing a finish sand and then another coat, you should let it dry for about an hour before you do a finish sand, like hit it with an 800 or whatever to knock all the dust specks off and whatever. You should probably let it sit for about an hour before you do that, because it can get a little smudgy. And you don't want that. So usually an hour before finish sand and then the final coat. But anyway, got to do that this week sometime because I need to get those listed for sale. Daddy needs money for stuff. So actually, no, I hate to have projects sitting around that are this close to being done, and I have people who want them and sending me messages. I put it up on my website. I have a Facebook page where I kind of list things or whatever, and they're like, oh my gosh, let me know. Of course, every time I do that, I always get people going, oh, can you make one for this machine and that machine? And I'm like, yeah, sorry. I only have these specific ones that I do usually. So that's where we are with that. All right. Enough of the Unity crosses. I'm going to jump into this thing. Now this is you might want to punch out now because this might get a little boring. Because I'm going to start looking through this whole project here. I'm going to get a pencil and I'm going to start looking at the different pieces and seeing if I can figure out what I've got. Ooh, nice brisk coffee. Just what everybody wants. I'm going to start figuring out what I've got here, and then maybe, maybe with a piece of paper in hand, I can start making notation if I find that I'm missing something. That let me get past the Doc McStuffin stickers here to a fresh page. Okay, there we go. So this will be my accounting over here of what I need and if I do need things. All right, let me see if there's anything important in the world of me really quick. I apologize, but just making sure. And checking comments. Okay, we're all good. All right. Like I said, let the boredom begin, because I don't know that this will be very exciting for anybody but me. But I do need to go through these pieces and find out what I've got and do a checklist here. And I think the best thing for me to do is to look at the different components. This is broken down into the components. So like monorail riders, which these right here are the monorail riders. And then you've got the lens board holder, which I already have the lens board holder done, so I will probably skip that part for right now. There is the back holder, which I should probably look to see that I've got the pieces for the back holder. Because I've done none of these others. So the ground glass holder, the back, the front standard. I think the front standard's almost done, but I'll check those. Rear standard, bellows frame. So those are the basic components of this. Let me go to the back holder. We could just start there because I think this should be pretty straightforward here. So for the back holder, and I also have some Ziploc bags right here that I put all these pieces in. And I think as I get these components, like if I get them nailed down to what I need, I might separate them into different bags. They used to be in paper bags, but that was from way back. And I would like to have them separated now into other ones. I can label them and then move forward with building those parts. But so there's on the back holder should be a 1-inch wide and a 7/8 inch wide piece that are 7.5 inches long. Now these should have been number 8 and number 9, but if I look at where I'm trying to find my numbers here to see if I can find an 8 or a 9. And I don't see an 8 or a 9. There's an 11. And there's a 12 that I think are kind of the same, the appropriate sizes here. But let me look at these other pieces just to make sure that I don't have, like this has no number on it. So I probably sanded this already. Yeah. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about. It's like I've got these pieces of wood, but none of these things are really adding up here. So it should be 7.5 inches long. And I think there's only a couple of pieces that are that long. Let me look here. So here's a 7.5 inch long. There should be 2 of those that are 1 3/8 inches wide. There is, and then we get back to the back holder. There's one at 7/8. There's one at 7/8 and one at 1 inch for the back holder. And I think I need let me get just a flat ruler here and start measuring some stuff. So for the back holder, I need one piece that is 7.5 inches. Now this is 7.5. So this is 7.5 inches. But this says 11 and 12. Well, 11 and 12 should be 6 3/4 inches. So, yeah, I'm so wrong on my numbering here. And this is 7.5 inches. This one is 1 inch wide. And this one is, what's that supposed to be? 7/8. So this is 7/8. All right. This is number 9. Scratch that out. Number 9. The 7/8. The 1 inch is number 8. Scratch this out. You are now number 8. Wow. I have no idea what I was numbering here, but I'm going to set this in a pile over here. And I don't know which view is better for you if you're watching. But, okay. I also need 6 3/4 inch pieces. 1 and 7/8. So 6 3/4 inches. So do I have any that are 6 3/4? Well, this is 6 3/4, and this is 6 3/4. Okay, so this one that is 7/8. This is 7/8 right here. So 6 3/4 by 7/8. This is number 11. Not 14, number 11. Okay. And then the other one that is 6 3/4 by 1 inch should be number 10. So I'm really not sure what I was thinking here when I was doing these, except that I did not have a ruler that was doing the right thing. So let me check these things off here, or circle them or something that to denote that I have now. So 8, 9, 10, and 11. Those are check. All right. Now I need a 1 inch by 2 inches by 3/8. Ooh. 1 inch by 2 inches. Really? 1 by 2 by 3/8. See, now that's stuff that I'm not seeing here, unless those are, no? Yeah, because like this piece for the standard holder here looks like it's the right size. So, no, but that's 1 3/4. Definitely not 2 inches. It's definitely wider than 1 inch. And I have nothing really that's fitting this bill except to say that if I look at, let me disassemble this over here because I'll show you what I'm thinking is, this piece has a washer on it and I don't want to lose the washer. I think this piece right here is what it's referring to, is this little piece right here. This piece is 1 inch by 3 inches, though. This is 3 inches. 3 inches, and they're all 3/8 of an inch thick, so that's not the thing. So this is actually too big, so it's not this. All right, there's a couple pieces that I can't find. So I need 2 of those. 3/8 by 1 by 2. And I need 2 of those. So I'm going to write that down as something I do not have, and those are pieces number 12. So number 12. So I don't have that. Also, let's see, 6 3/4 by 1/4 by, okay, so now these I think I do have. And they might be in here. Let me grab these pieces of wood out of here. These were kind of, there were some really tiny pieces of wood, and I wanted to make sure that I got those sealed up here, but I think these might be the next ones. So let's look and see. What numbers do I have on here? 18 and 17. Got some 17s and 18s. I don't think those are, there is no 17 and 18 on here. That's interesting. Wonder if that's in my, in the addendums here. Because, yeah, okay. So I don't even have a 17 and 18 on here. This is really weird, 16T. Anyway, let me go through and see. 1/4 by 3/8 by 6 3/4. So 6 3/4, nope. How about you, 6 3/4? Let's see. Yep. Or close to 6 3/4. Now these are really thin. These are, okay, so these are 6 3/4. And they need to be 6 3/4 by 3/8 by 1/4. So they are 3/8 and 1/4. All right, so these pieces, and this is what I was saying about needing this. This is so valuable to me because there's no way I would have been able to find these pieces and figure this out without this. All right. So this would be number 13. So I got to change all these numbers on here. So 13, 13, put these over here with this, and I've got those. And then 1/4 by 3/8 by 6 inches, and there should be 2 of those. And I think that's these right here. So these are 6 inches. And this is just, you're so excited watching this, aren't you? It's just very exciting stuff. And I apologize, but it's a necessary evil for me to put this together. These were number 14. So have y'all ever done anything like these? Like any projects like this? It's kind of like paint by numbers, but not really. Okay, these are all my pieces right here for the back holder. And I don't know, I think these might fit in a bag. I think so. I've got these quart-sized bags that I actually had picked up to put stuff in for when I went backpacking in Nepal. I actually did that, yes I did. All right, so that's the back holder. And you know what I'm gonna do? Let me get a roll of masking tape here. And I'm just gonna make labels on here so I know what's what. So I will be able to write that on here. So this is the back holder, and it is minus a couple of pieces that I'm gonna have to manufacture. Back holder. Back holder. But I do like to make the labels this way. I could write it on the bags, but I could use these bags for other things. So I'd rather just make some labels like this that I could put on there. And there you go. So back holder. Good to go. All right, let's look at the ground glass holder. And I'm just gonna move through some of these things and see what I can find out. So the ground glass holder, these are also like really, so I need some square pieces, 3/8 by 3/8 by 5/16. I should have 2 of these. So 5 and 1/16. That is not these. 5 and 1/16. I should probably use the 16th side, don't you think? So this is not it. So these are too long. 5 and a 16th. So let me just do it kind of, okay. These look closer to that. So let's see, this one, too short. This one, just right. All right, here's these two. And they are, what did I say these numbers were? Number 15. I'm really close with my numbers. I had these as 17s, but these are 15s. So 15. What other things are going on while I'm doing this? So hey, I got my my COVID shot the other day, which was really cool. And then they did the I'm gonna set this aside. They did the made the follow-up appointment for me. So that's kind of exciting. I can get my follow-up shot beginning of May. And then I already had a buddy reach out to me. He's like, hey, does that mean we can go get coffee now? It's like, not yet. We're close, but not yet. Not yet. So back holder, did I do those? Okay, hang on. I forgot to see. This is, I didn't circle. Yeah, I did those. Okay. It's like I need to circle things and be consistent. That's the other thing. Be consistent. Okay, I've got these. So yeah, so I'm very excited to, I mean, I've got friends that, you know, we kind of all retired at the same time, and I haven't seen them in a long time. I worked and, you know, socialized with these people for years and years and years. And it's, you know, my whole thing was, oh, it'll be great when we're retired and we can just go out and you know, hang out and do stuff. And that hasn't happened. So 4 and 25, 30 seconds. Wow, that's, ooh, 25, 30 seconds. Ooh, that's a measurement right there. So 4 and really 25, 30 seconds. You know, let's pull this out. Pardon me for leaning in. They want to get really specific on me here with that measurement. So let's see if we can figure this out. So 0 this, and we're going to go like this. Now that's not, let's see. So 13/16. So yeah, this is it. So, all right, I've got 2 of these. And these were number 16. So it seems like I'm off by 2 numbers. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, I'm kind of excited to be able to go at least kind of go sit outside at Starbucks. I don't want to go too crazy with the whole thing just because I've got a vaccination. It doesn't mean you're out of the water yet. And there's quite a few people who have already had both doses of their vaccines, and they have contracted the virus even after they've had both doses. So you know, I'm not just gonna run around without my mask going, whoo-hoo, it's all good, because you know, I don't think we're there yet. But I think we're getting close. Okay, now this 3/8 by 3/8 by 1/2 inch. I think that's where this little bag comes into play here. Although I have these 2 little pieces too. Little pieces right here. Let's see if we can see those. Is that better? Yeah, so I've got these 2 little pieces. So let's do some measuring here. So that is 3/8 by 3/8 by, that's 3/4 of an inch. So they're going to be shorter than this. So not these 2 little pieces. Let's try some little pieces that I put in here that look like they might, I need some little square ones. Oh my gosh. My goodness. This is where it gets kind of like crazy, is I've got these little pieces here, and I need to find the ones that are the right size and dimension. Maybe these? Ugh. All right, so this says they should be 3/8 by 3/8 by 1/2. And then there is 1/4 by 3/8 by 1/2. Well, this looks like it is 1/2. So I've got these 2 little ones that are 1/2, but they are not 3/8 by 3/8. I think these are 1/4. Yeah, I think these are like 1/4 inch. by 3/8. So I've got these, which, what number is that? This is number 18, which goes in line with how wrong I was on my stuff. It's off by 2. So 18 and 18. Okay. So I might have to make some other pieces here. Got that one, but I cannot find these little pieces that they want. These are tiny pieces in here. I can't find these little pieces. I've got these other ones here. 3/32 by 1/4 by 3/8. Wow, really? 3/32. I mean, that's really stinking tiny. Because I do have those. Those are these little slivers in here. Okay, so these are, how long are these things? Let me just try to measure it in the bag here. 1, 2, 3/8. And they are, yeah, okay, so that's these. And I have 4 of those. Am I supposed to have 4 of those? Yes, I am, and yes, I do. So I've got those. And then it says, now he added something on here. It says 3/8 by 5/8 by 3/4. And I don't know if I need that or not. But how long are these? That's a 1/2 inch. So this is, I don't know how big this is. This looks like 3/16. 1, 2, 3/16, or 3/8 by 1/4 by 1/2. 3/8 by 1/4 by 1/2. So 3/8 by, see, I don't have 3/8 by 1/4 by 1/2, which is interesting. He's got a 3/4 by 1/2. But these are not 3/4. These are 1/2. 1/2 by 3/8 by, and they're not 3/8 by 3/8. Oh, so he's got it. Okay. All right. So let me make these are 17 then, I think. 17. And I think these are supposed to be number 17. No, I'm not. These are, okay. I don't know what's going on here. So it looks like these were 18s. I already did these. I need to, 26. These are marked 26. They aren't even close to 26. What size are these? Okay, this might be the one he was talking about. So 3, no, but these are square. Oh, see, it just gets hard. It gets hard. Okay, here's what I don't have. So I got to mark the stuff I don't have now that I can't find. So I can't find 3/8. This will be number 17. Number 17. 3/8 by 3/8 by 1/2. Those are going to be really small pieces to make too. But I cannot find those anywhere. I've got these mystery pieces, but these are all like 3/8 square, so that's not them. And these are square, but they're like 3/8 little cubes, or 3/8 by 3/8 by 3/8, which I actually see those down here. Sort of. There's some of these down here that are that way, so they might go there. So anyway, you can see why this is such a valuable resource. I'm just saying. All right, and I could not find this. He's got one added in here, 3/8 by 5/8 by 3/4. And I can't find that one in here as well. So I'm going to add that in here as number 16. He's got 16T. Not sure what that is. But I'm just going to go with his little notes here. So 3/8 by 5/8 by 3/4. And there should be, it says one of those. One of those. Number 17 should be, well, this says 4 of them. So I'm going to mark 4 of those on there because I can't find those anywhere. Arg. All right, so I'm going to take another bag and, or do I have a bag? No, I have a bag right here because it has those tiny pieces in it. All right, because I have those teeny tiny little pieces, which were, where are they? 3/32. Yeah, so these things. So these are all 19. All right, I'm going to take these pieces, stick them in here, and we're going to call this the ground glass holder. So we'll make a label for this. And yeah, you can see this is really exciting stuff, right? Sometimes this is just what it is. You know, it's not every project I do is all fancy and, you know, exciting, and sometimes it's just all about the little nitty-gritty detail stuff. And, you know, this, I think, is the epitome of nitty-gritty detail. So yes, look away. Look away. You don't need this. Ground glass holder? Is that what we were going to say? Holder, yeah. But I do find that if you're going to do something like this, this is the best way to just try to keep everything organized and, you know, keep things straight in your head. The back. Let's see if we can make more sense out of the back here. These are larger pieces, some of them are. All right, the back. We need a 3/8. Oh, hang on a second. Let me do this. This was the back holder. It's just so I know where these go. Holder, the ground glass holder. So I can keep these parts separated. Okay. The back, 3/8 by 1 3/8. So these are larger pieces. So I think that's these pieces right here. So 1 3/8, pretty darn close. 1 3/8. That's 1 2 3/8. And 7.5. There we go. All right, hey, I got 2 pieces here that right off the bat. So these are actually number 20. My numbering scheme from years ago seemed to be off by 2. Not sure why. So there's these pieces right here. Stick them up here. All right, next on the list, got those. Next on the list, 5 1/4 by 1 5/16. So 5 1/4. Nope, 6 inches. How many of these do I need? Need 2. That's too short. Are these really skinny pieces? They're 3/8 by 1 3/8. No, 3/8 by 1 5/16 by 5 1/4. Okay, these are 5/16. Oh, okay, so there's 5/16. And please be 5 1/4, and you are. All right, I need 2 of them, and I have 2 of them. And as always, they are numbered 2 over what they're supposed to be. They should be 21, and I have them numbered at 23. So, and there we go. I'm not sure why my numbering was off by 2 when I did this originally, but you know, at least maybe there's a method to this madness. So technically I should be able to find number 24 and it should be the right size. So let's see, 3/4 of an inch, yes. And 6 11/16. 6, and that's 8, 9, 10, 11/16. There we go. I've got 2 of them. So that's working out. Let me renumber them to what they should be. Now, I say that, you know, maybe my plans that I had were different. I don't know that this camera was put out at the same time as that camera. So my camera might have been from a different period of time, and therefore the numbering and such may have changed over time. I don't know what year these instructions were made, and mine may have been a much earlier version, and the numbering may have been very different. So, you know, I'm not saying that I numbered these wrong way back when, but I'm saying that right now they don't match up. There's one piece here. I mean, the sizes are matching, but the numbering sequence isn't, and I'm off by 2, which makes me think that my plans had different numbers: 3/8, 3/4, and 4 7/8. Yep. Because it's consistently off by 2, and that makes me think that, yeah, there was something in my plans that was different than these. So, and then it says I need 1/4 by 3/8 by 3/4. So mine should say, and there should be 2 of these. I don't see these pieces. What do we got? 1/4 by 3/8 by 3. Oh, these are small. Oh, here we go. Right here. So these little pieces right here should be 24. 24. There we go. All right. Well, this was all complete, which is nice. I don't know if I can get these pieces in this bag because they're longer. Let me see if I can get some of these long pieces in here. It's these 2 big ones right here that make me wonder if I can get them in. I mean, oh, they will fit just like that. All right, put these little pieces in here. Gonna drop everybody down inside here. These long pieces are gonna fit, maybe, hopefully. Yes, all right. All right, I think we got this so it'll all fit. There we go. And this was the back. So the back is good. Let's see if my sun, I guess, didn't work today. Back. All right. Okay, I tell you what, I need to run and do something really quick. I'm gonna take a short break, and then I will come back to more of this super duper exciting stuff. Stay right there. Okay, nature's call has been answered. And we got a little beverage and we're ready to move forward. So right now, as it stands, I have to manufacture 5 pieces for this. And they're all very small pieces. But like I said, I don't know until we get all the way through this. So let's keep moving forward. Hang on a second, I'm gonna assemble this piece again here because I don't want to lose any of these little pieces that I had already on here. And I don't even know if this is assembled correctly now. Now I look at it, I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I did this right. This is crazy. All right, whatever, just get that out of the side here. Okay, we just did the back. And now we need to move to the front standard, which I think are all these pieces here that are already kind of assembled here. And that's what I was talking about, is the front standard. There's only 3 pieces here, or 3 measurements of wood. I don't want to lose my little nuts here. Let's see what I've got here is 3/8 by 1 1/4 by 4 5/8. That might be these larger pieces here. Let me disassemble this whole thing. Although this should be the lens holder. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Okay. I'm going to put all these little pieces down here so I don't lose them. So we're talking about a piece of wood that is 4 5/8 in length. And these were numbered, so in my book it'd be like number 27 or something, which I don't have anything that's like that. These are 3 inches. That's not quite 3 inches. This is over 5 inches. They should have been 1 3/8 wide, which is not this. I mean, these are 1 1/4 by 1 3/4, so it's not going to be this. And then I need one that's 1 by 5 by 3/8, and I need 2 of those. Those should have been like number 29 on here, I think. I thought I saw these. Yeah, so these right here, okay. 1 inch by 3/8, right? Yep. By 5 inches, 6 inches. Oh, okay, so this is 6 inches. So mine is 6 inches long, and this says 5 inches long. But I have no other pieces that are supposed to be 6 inches long, except for these little things right here with the frame. So my front standard and rear standard both have pieces that are 5 inches. Oh my gosh. All right, what have I got going on here? Maybe this is, how long is this piece? This piece right here was 5 3/4 inches. Wow. Wow. I am at such a loss right now, because now I've got pieces that don't match up at all. And this is, and like I said, because I don't know if these plans, I mean, it's the same camera, it's a 4x5 camera, but now I'm wondering, Okay, was mine slightly different than this one? That one looks like it has much larger standards. Um, yeah, this one looks a little different than mine, I think. Interesting, to say the least. All right, well, I'm gonna have to say that I don't have these. I've got extra pieces here. Like I think these are my, and these have little tiny holes in them. So I'm not sure. This is crazy. 5 3/8, 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. See, these are 1 inch, so they're not 1 1/4. I don't have anything that's 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. I got nothing. Nothing that's that big. Nothing that is 1 1/4 anymore. None of my pieces are that big. So, well, let's just start writing it down. So this is for the front standard. And I'm going to have all these extra pieces here because they're not matching up. But that's, you know what? I'm going to go with the plans because I can't really do anything else because these are the only plans I've got. I can make the pieces, but yeah, that's kind of crazy. All right, well, I need 25. So these 1 1/4 pieces, that's the thing. I have nothing that's 1 1/4 inches wide. I mean, even these pieces are, well, these are 1 1/4, but they're short and stubby, right? Not long. So all right, well, 3/8, number 25. 3/8 thick by 1 1/4, quarter by 4 5/8. Well, at least I can start making these pieces. Now, the thing is, here's what I don't know because, okay, if you look at these pieces, some of these have holes pre-drilled in them. Some of these things have slots pre-slotted in them. If these are supposed to be slotted and I don't have the right pieces, like look at this one, slotted. So now I'm going to have to figure out if they're supposed to be slotted or not. If they're supposed to be slotted, I'm going to have to figure out how to do those slots. I might have to do this on the CNC machine, which gets a little bit more complicated. But I'm going to have to go look through the instructions and see what the piece of material looks like in the instructions when it's being assembled, to see that it has, because that's the thing. A lot of these don't say slotted, pre-drilled, or anything like that. It just has, oh, these are the pieces of wood. So front standard, 3/8 by 1 1/4. See these, number 26 by 1 1/4. And I have a feeling that these are slotted by 5 3/8. But we'll find out. And I need one of those. And then 3/8 by 1 by 5. Well, 1 by 6. Not 5. I've got 6. Why are you doing this to me? Why? Then I had these as number 29, which would be these, but they're not adding up. So I'm going to call these, all right, number 27, 3/8 by 1 by 5. And I need 2 of those. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to mill up a whole bunch of stock to 3/8 of an inch thick and then cut pieces out of them. That seems to be the way that I'm going to have to go for these. And I did not come up with any of those. So this whole thing, none of those front standards did I have. In fact, I'm going to go in here and just kind of put some marks next to these so I know which ones I'm making. And these, and then all of these I got to make. So if I make marks next to them, it's just going to give me kind of an idea of what I'm looking at here. Rear standard. Once again, it's asking for 1 1/4, and I think the dimensionality changed in their plans. I think they went from these 1 inch wide pieces of wood to 1 1/4. I think they just went wider with them, maybe for stability purposes. I think that's what they did. I think they said, you know what, we need to make these wider. And yeah, I think they went to 1 1/4 inch pieces of wood on these in this last couple of builds that they did, which is from the early 90s. Like this was a parts list from 93 for a price list, but they definitely have 1 1/4s on here, and these are definitely 1 inch. And I'm gonna say that, yeah, I'm gonna say that they changed the wood dimensions to a wider piece of wood when they were at some point in time during the manufacture. And that's the other problem, is because I don't have my original, if they change the plans at all, my plans won't reflect that. Now, one thing, let me check real quick, because I'm going to see if in the assembly plans there are the revisions. Let me see if it, because it says page 2. Okay, so it does say like part 16 should read quantity of 1. So there should be 1 of these, which, okay, and then it's like, but it doesn't say anything about changes to sizes. It does have some things about like screws and other such things. I was looking at, what was that? That was the front standard. Let me look at the front standard page here, see where, if it talks about doing the front standard. And there's the monorail riders. And here's the lens board holder. And here's the back holder. Let me find the ground glass holder. I'm hoping I can find, there's the back, which, what was I looking for? I think it was the back. No, it's the front standard. Okay, I'm not seeing the directions for the front standard on here, which is okay. Maybe that gets into with the lens board holder. I'm not seeing that on here though. Lens board, back holder. Well, let me look and see. See, it doesn't say anything about assembling the rear holder, but let me see, 28, 29, and 30. So let me see if I can find these parts here. It seems like I'm missing, I'm gonna have to go back and check my instructions to see if I'm missing a couple of pages here, because it seems like I'm missing a couple pages. Now this says 20, no. $13, and this is $14. And it shows the holder, but it's not showing the assembly of the holder. I'm going to have to go back and check to see if I actually have all the pages here, because it doesn't look like I have all the pages here now that I look at it. Unless there were pages left out. Oy vey, I tell you, it just gets crazy. All right, well, let me go through and finish doing the rest of this stuff here. I might have to go back and check his email to see. Actually, you know what? I can do that right here. Hang on just 1 second. I'm going to pull up the email that he sent these to me on, because my pages end with, what is that last page there? I think it's like 14 or something. Let let me go back here and check his email because I've got it pulled up here. And let me see here. No, I think 15. Oh, I did miss a couple. Yes, I did. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Here we go. So I actually forgot to print 2 pages that were in here. I was like, that can't be everything. Now I found it. So let me go back to the page where we were here. And we're looking at, I want to look at the instructions for this, for the front standard. So page 25. Yeah, see, these are, oh my God, they're all slotted. They're all slotted. Sand parts 25, left and right. Yep. And, oh, all 3 of these parts are going to be slotted. And then where's part number 27? Should see a part 27 on here as well. There should be 2 of those. Anyway, well, at least I know that, oh, there it is. There's 27. And it is, oh, I can't see it from the side. It is not slotted, but it does have a hole for a, oh, that's crazy. 2730? Oh, 27 left and right. Whoop. Okay, these will be mounted between the lens board holder and the uprights of the front standard. Okay. All right. So they do not have dimensionality on here, but at least I know that I'm missing 2 pages that I had not scanned and done. So I will do those. That's easy enough. They're, like I said, they're in my emails. I guess I downloaded them, but I forgot to get those printed. That's easy. I still think that they changed the plans from when my stuff was made. I think they made things a little beefier on the camera side. Because if I look at like this definitely is, and it's offset too. It's like, okay, so it goes like this. This definitely is one of the standard holders. I can tell you, I know that for a fact. It's got to be. It's got to go like this. These are the standard holders for these things. And I know it goes like this. So I know that's what these are for. But now this one is slotted towards the top. So here's another one right here. There we go. So it would be more like this. So these pieces go like this, right? I don't know if this is the front or the rear. Now, I also don't have numbers on these things because I think I had sanded these before getting these ready for going. This piece of wood right here is, how big is this? So this is almost just shy of 8 inches long. I'm going to measure this better. It is just, it's like 8 inches long. Is there anything on here that's 8 inches? So these should be 8 1/8 inches. Well, this is a little shy of 8 1/8. It's 8 inches. So I think they changed the dimensions on these a little bit in the plans. This piece that goes between them, if I measure, if those were 8, this should be 4 5/8. Well, this piece right here is 5 3/4. So it's really kind of kooky. I'm just trying to figure out what in the world is going on with these, because there's a front standard. Now, if this is the front standard, that piece should be, it should have one piece that's 5 3/8. And this piece is 1 2 3. So this is 5 3/4. And then the long piece, yeah. So I think they changed design plans, and I'm going to have to recreate a lot of these pieces. And I've got these slots that I'm going to have to cut. I might be able to do this on the router table because they're well, I don't know. We'll see. CNC would actually be easier because these look like they're 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, these are 1/4 inch slots, which makes sense because I've got these 1/4 20 bolts that go through there. So I've got these 1/4 inch slots that I'm going to have to cut into the wood, and I'm going to have to figure out where those go. I'm going to have to CNC those in because you see some of these are in the middle. Like this would be the piece that goes in the middle on the rear. I guarantee it. I guarantee this is like the middle piece, and there's one piece because the slot is centered, right? Which means that piece is going to be sliding this way. You've got slots that are tall, and they go up and down this way. The other thing is I should have more of these slotted pieces than I do. I should have ones for the rear, because if you look at the rear of the camera, which I was doing, I was looking at the picture of the rear of the camera, it should slide up and down. Well, no, those are shorter ones, okay. But they did beef this. I can tell from looking at the picture that these pieces, they made them larger and wider. And that's what we're gonna have to do. We're just gonna have to make some pieces that go with this. And then I'll have to figure out how to slot them. So this is like a lot more custom than I thought. Wow, this is getting, this is adding up there. All right, front standard, gonna have to do them all. Rear standard, same thing. I'm gonna do the rear standard. I'm gonna have to write all these down. So I'm gonna need, because I don't have any of these pieces. None of these pieces are the dimensions that I need. This is 7 5/8. There is no 7 5/8 on here. This is 6 inches. I have nothing that's 6 inches. I've got all these pieces of wood that don't match any dimensions now. All right, let me get these down here. So number 28. But the numbers that are written on some of these are like 2 off of where they should be. So this one says 3/8 by 1 by 5. Well, I know that this is 1 by 3/8 by 6, which tells me that, and there's supposed to be 2 of them. So that tells me that they probably changed some of these things along the way, made modifications to theirs when they made new kits, and then mine just doesn't quite match up. But that's okay. You know what? We got the tools. We got the wood. We can do this. The big thing for me is figuring out what gets holes and what gets slots. 1 1/4, 1 1/4 by 1. Because if they are supposed to be slotted, you know, well, where are the slots supposed to go? 4 5/8 by 8 1/8 and by 5. So I have to figure out where all these slots are supposed to go and then how many of these I'm supposed to have. So that's 2, 1, 2. All right, so none of these did I have, at least anything that matched those dimensions. And it's really weird because some of this stuff matches perfectly. You see, I put them in the bags and it matches perfectly. And some of this stuff just is not matching up. And that goes for the front standard and the rear standard. They've changed the dimensions. I'm going to figure those out. All right, bellows frame. These are these last little pieces here, I think. I'm also have to do the monorail riders because I know I don't have those correct. But the bellows frames, 3/8 by 3/8 by 3 1/8. So 3 1/8. Now I have these marked as, let's see if it should be 33, I'll bet. So 3 1/8. That's not this one. Is it this one? Okay, it's this one. So 3 1/8 And they're 3/8 squared. What did I have this down as? 32. Well, this is 31. All right. So 31. Okay. At least that one's done. Oh, wait, no, not. That's my missing mark. I need to put the different mark on there. 31's good. Okay. 32. So 3 7/8. See if this is 3 7/8. And it is. There's 2 of these. So these will be number 32, which I said were 33. So I seem to now have gone to 1 off from my numbering system. So go figure, right? 32 is good. 3/8 by 5 7/8. So I'm guessing that's going to be these since it's a 1 off. 5 7/8. Yep. So these are 33 now. 33. And then hopefully these last pieces right here are 6 5/8. And they are stupendous. And see, like these have little countersunk holes drilled in them. So, you know, that could have been very difficult to figure out if these were not correct. And I would have never known about that. So until I got into the actual instructions of it. Okay, that is the bellows frame. That is all complete. Thank goodness. I still have these little teeny tiny things here that I don't know where these things go. So I have a bunch of extra pieces here, which is a little maddening. Extra pieces are not good. It's like, you know, you want things to kind of all add up. And it's not like extra screws. I mean, extra screws are one thing. Extra pieces of wood, that's something altogether different. All right, where's my tape? I'm gonna write bellows frames on here so that we know that this is done. And then we still have to go check, I still have to check the, I'm gonna check the lens holder. I think that one's already assembled. It should be this one right here, but we'll check that one as well. Bellows frames. Bellows frames, okay. All righty. Yeah, I tell you, going through this, I don't think I would have made it. I definitely would have not jumped into this if I didn't have these pieces already. All right, let's look at the monorail riders because I think these have changed as well. These are supposed to be 1 1/4 by 1 3/4 by 7/8, and I should have one of those. That seems kind of weird. So I think that's this chunky block right here is what that is. I think that's chunkers. And let me look at the instructions just to see if that's what this number 1 looks like here. That says number 2. Looking for piece number 1 here. So we've got number 3, we've got number 2, number 3. Not seeing number 1 here anywhere. I don't, okay. They went through and did a build, but they didn't have piece number 1 on here. That seems odd. Parts 1, 2, 4, 12, 27, and 30 all have 5/16 holes with a 3/4 inch countersink, which is these. So a 5/16 hole should be this large hole with a 3/4 inch countersink in it, which is for the T-nut. Place the T-nut in, blah, blah, blah. But their dimensionality on their pictures was kind of weird. Okay. Okay. Well, I think, let me measure this piece right here. Go back. We're going to go back to the thing here and measure this. This is 3/4 of an inch. No, 7/8 thick. Okay, so that's 7/8 by 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. So 1 3/4, 1 1/4. This is piece number 1. Hallelujah. 1. Got that. There should be just one of those. We've got that. 3/8 by 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. So I should have a piece that is about the same dimension as this, but is 3/8 wide, which would be this piece right here. And I think these are already glued together. But I only have 2 of these. Well, it says I should only have 2. 3/8 by 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. Okay, well, 2. Got it. Okay. These are number 2. Huh. I said number 3 on there, but I'm gonna mark number 2 on here just because that's the right dimension. And then I've got these little pieces on here, which 3/4 inch by. Now these I do not have. I cannot find these pieces, and I've got a lot of extra pieces here. This is just kind of strange. 3/4 by 1 1/4 by 13/16 by 1 13/16. So this is 3/4 by 1 1/4 by 3/8. I don't see these pieces anywhere. This is odd. 3/4 by 1 1/4 by 1 13/16, which is almost 2 inches, just shy of 2 inches. I had a message. What message did I have? Oh my goodness. Hey, if you need to have your erectile dysfunction cured, I just got the text message that is the answer to your prayers. I hate this crud. You know, please. I don't know how they got my message, my number for those type of messages, but man, I get them all the time. I am not finding, this is all my remaining pieces of wood here. I'm not finding these remaining pieces of wood here. I've got some little teeny scraps and stuff, and I'm not finding these little pieces anywhere. I do have some T-nuts that have been installed and things. I need 3/4 by 1 1/4, which would be, so 3/4 by 1 1/4 by, so it needs to be 3/4 of an inch thick. What it looks like. 3/4 of an inch thick. I don't have any blocks of wood that are 3/4 of an inch thick. I got nothing. Nothing that is that, and by 1 13/16. And I'm supposed to have 6 of those. 6. Yeah, I'm not seeing 6 of anything here. So we definitely gonna go up here and do number 3. This will be monorail riders. Monorail riders. Riders on the storm. Okay, number 3. 3/4. So I need 3/4 of an inch thick. I got that. By 1 1/4 and 1/4 by 1 13/16. Now I got to see what these look like, because if they have T-nuts in them, because it says in the instructions that a lot of these have T-nuts in them, and I'm not seeing these pieces here that they're showing. I see number 3. Okay, so this is weird. All right, let me show you this little thing here for their drawing. And these might be pieces that they assembled. So if you look here, right here, do you see this little this little piece right here that's actually an L-shaped piece of wood, well, that says number 3 on there. Now I do have a couple of those that look like this, right? This little L-shaped piece of wood. And this might be what, I think this is what they're referring to when they talk about number 3. But, yeah. And then number 2, I'm gonna have to go through this and really look at these instructions because it doesn't look like any of the, I mean, yeah. So now I need to just I'm gonna have to go through these instructions and really dig through and see what they're talking about when they're putting these things together. But this is like the number 3 piece that they're talking about here, but theirs has a, it has a hole through here that goes into a star nut or something, or like a T-nut. Because if you look at this piece right here, okay, this is showing, there you go, that shows number 3. So you've got these little pieces here, but their pieces actually have holes in them. My piece has no hole in it. It has no hole drilled. I mean, I can drill those holes for the T-nuts, but I have no T-nuts in there. And then it shows down here, if you look right here, it shows that there's a star nut thing or whatever, little holding that together. Which means one of these has a hole, one of these has a T-nut. So I need a whole bunch of these kind of things right here. See, this leads me to believe that this is number 3, and then I don't see where number 2, piece number 2 is. And I think number 2, cut the hole on the outside of the 3 of the part 3s into a square as shown. This will allow the, oh, okay, so they're talking about carriage bolts now. That makes sense. Okay, so if you look right here, they're using a carriage bolt, right, to go through the one side and a T-nut on the other side. So, and I also only have one carriage bolt. This is a carriage bolt. Now, if you can see, it's square right here. That's square. So that's squared off. Let me get a little closer. So you can see that that end is squared off, so that when you cut that square out, it'll fit in there, and then you can tighten your nut down on top of it like this. And there you go. I don't know how many of them are supposed to get those. I have one carriage bolt. So I think that I'm going to need more carriage bolts. And I guess I could look in the parts list and see how many carriage bolts I'm supposed to have. But I think it's more than what I do. And then I also have these pieces right here, which these, I don't even know where these go now because they have T-nuts. So I'm probably going to need some more T-nuts as well. But that's interesting. Very interesting. All right, well, I'm going to need to make a bunch of those. So number 3 things, which this should be number 3. So not number 2. This is number 3, is this piece. And I need to make more of these. So I have one of them. So it says, you know, I need how many of these things? 6 of them? Which makes sense. Because there's, if you look here, you'll see that on the bottom, so right here, and right over here, these right here, these are the parts that actually slide on the rail, and you can see that carriage bolt going through there. Those are the parts I don't have. These, I have no idea. This is so stupid. I have 2 of these. I need a bunch more, and I'm going to have to drill holes in them. So I'm going to end, yeah, so I'm going to probably make these up as I go. So let me go back to my monorail. Let me go back to my parts list here. And the 7/8 by 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. which was this big one. But I did not have, so these 3/8 by 1 1/4 by 1, I need to make those. So I do not have that either. So what number was that? 3/4 by 1 1/4, that's number 3. Let me write these down. Number 3. And this is, I need 6 of those. And these are L-shaped. I'm just going to write that in there. L-shaped pieces. And then number, I need number, I did not have that one. I had number, what did I have? This 3/4 of an inch one, or 7/8. I have no, I do not have number 2 either. So I'm going to put little check marks next to that. Check mark next to those. So I need number 2. So that's 3/8 by 1 1/4 by 1 13/16. 1 13/16. And I need, is that right? No. 1 1/4 by 1 3/4. Sorry. I'm crossing my numbers here. 1 3/4. And I need 2 of those. Okay. I think that's almost everything. The lens board holder, I believe, is good. It's already assembled, and I'm hoping that's the case on this. Let me just check. This had, so it has 2 little T-nuts in the sides of them, but it should have had two boards that were, this is 4 3/4 inches, and it did 2 of those, and it should have had 4 inches, which was these interior ones, and it had 2 of those, and then it should have little teeny ones inside, so 4 inches, that's good, and then 3 and, yep, 3 1/4. So this is fine. I've got all of this. This is done. Yay. So check. That's done. All right. I'm going to get 1 bag for this just to keep these in here. Weird. So I've got lots of bags here with stuff in it. I'm going to look at the hardware next. So this is monorail riders. I know what those are. I don't need to label that because they're very unique looking. A big thing I need to look at are carriage bolts. I should have 3 2 1/4 inch carriage bolts, and I think I have 1, which means hopefully, let me see how big this is. 2 1/4, right? Yep. So I need 2 more carriage bolts. So 2 1/4 carriage bolts, 2 1/4 inch carriage bolts, IAGE. I need 2 more. I've got tons of little flathead screws and stuff. I've got the L screws. I don't see where it says T-nuts on here. It says L screws. I got a bunch of those. I know I have more than 8. Little flatheads, 3/8, 1 1/2 inch flatheads, and round heads. Okay. It doesn't say, oh, here you go, T-nuts. I should have had 11 T-nuts. 11. But some of these have already been installed and stuff, and I don't think they go now. So I'm going to need more T-nuts. We'll just say a dozen. T-nuts, I'm going to just say 12. And those are 1/4 20, I believe. 1/4 20. Because I think that's what all these are, standard 1/4 20. Star knobs, does it have star knobs on here? Spirit levels, I've got those. I've got the nameplate. I've got these spring steel wires. I have those. I already saw those. Brass washers, I've got a bunch of brass washers. Black end caps. I've got those. Those are in there. The monorail scrap, I've got that. I've got the 11-inch monorail. I do not have a ground glass unless that is in the bellows. It might be in the bellows. I have not checked, but I do not feel my ground glass in here. So I'm going to have to buy a piece of ground glass. That's okay. It's 4x5-inch ground glass, and I'm sure I can get that anywhere. I've got a bellows. I got a lens board. You know what it doesn't say is, oh, here we go, knurled knobs. So I need large star knobs. I should have 1, 2, let me see how many I've got here. And I'm gonna, maybe not, get that piece out of there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7. It says I should have 9. So I need star nuts, star knobs. I need star knobs. I need more of those. So this will all be hardware store. I need 2 of those, and those are 1/4 20. And the small knurled knobs, I should have 4 of those. And I see 2 of them. All right, so I need small knobs, 1/4 20, small knobs. Good grief. What the heck did I do with my stuff? Or did they just change the plans that much, you know? They could have just changed the plans that much. And I just didn't have any of the stuff that was supposedly, like I've got, I think I have 1, 2 T-nuts in here. Now some of the T-nuts were installed in pieces of wood, but I've got pieces of wood here that don't match anything. Let me grab these washers right here. So I got pieces of wood that don't match anything. I've got, you know, there's a lot going on this thing that is not making sense to me. I mean, it makes more sense than it did, which is good. Let me turn this off. But on the other hand, some of it has now opened up into larger mysteries. Like here's some more T-nuts that were installed. So I've got mysteries now that I need to unravel mysteries, which is, I mean, it's kind of cool. I actually don't mind manufacturing pieces. I've got quite a few little pieces here that I'm going to have to manufacture. And that's kind of cool because I've got, like I said, I've got tons of cherry scrap, and I can certainly mill up these things. The big thing for me is figuring out, okay, well, this is going to need a hole in it. This is going to need a slot in it. The stuff that needs slots, I'm going to have to figure that out, because if they're 1/4-inch slots, and how long those slots need to be and where they need to be located, and then how I'm going to make those slots. Probably going to have to do them on the CNC machine because it's just what you do. So basically I'll have to get that piece of wood, measure it, figure it out, put it on there, block those things in, find the center. That actually takes more time than anything. But you know, it is what it is. Here's the bottom line though. There's no rush to this camera. It's been around for 25 or more years. If it takes me a while to make these pieces and do stuff, that's fine. I am going to take one more here and just put miscellaneous pieces in it because, yeah, because I just don't know where these little pieces were supposed to go, or what they were supposed to do. I have these other pieces here that are a little larger than I can deal with. And like I said, I think they've changed from what they were supposed to be. I'm going to see if I can take this screw out of here, because this is not supposed to be on here like this. There we go. So this nut comes off of there. There we go. I'm going to put this one in here, and I'm going to put this in here. Because the other thing is, as I'm looking at those pieces, I don't see where it said anything about about these. I've got all these little 1/4 pieces of threaded rod, and that I did not see in the parts list anywhere. I don't see anything about, oh wait, here we go. Short studs and medium studs. I guess those are the studs. So one is 1/16, maybe that's what the studs are. Let me check those out real quick, because I think I've got 2 different sizes of those. Yeah, so there's 2 different sizes. So those are, I think that's what they're referring to as the studs. So get my ruler back here. I've got one that is about 3/16 or 1 1/4. So that's about 1 1/4. And this one is, well, no. Okay. Short stud, 1 1/16. Well, this is 1 1/8, and this is 1 1/2. So even those don't match up. I mean, they're close, but they don't match up. And so history's mysteries. There we go. And I'm going to put all these, I am going to go print those other pages. I think I'm going to put all these back into my box right here. So this is my, don't need this. But I'm going to put all this stuff back in the box for the moment, because I have pieces to make before I can assemble these and start making some of these pieces, right? So this is done. I'm going to take the bellows, put that in here to keep it protected. And then I'm just going to start laying all these pieces in here. These are extras. There's my knobs, there's my hardware, and then all these pieces that we kind of sorted out here. Like this. Not bad. I need this because this is this little piece right here you use to assemble the monorail riders. And there's that piece right there. And then this piece. I do have these extras. I'm going to use these as kind of setups for my slots to kind of figure out slot length and stuff. But so there is the kind of right back where I started, but better than where I was, but slightly confused by some of the measurements in here. And like I said, I think what happened was that they changed the dimensions of some of this wood, probably through feedback from customers. Some of these pieces of wood were just needed to be a little wider, maybe like 1/4 inch or so. And I think that probably provided more stability. If you're doing a long slot, you want a little bit of meat on each side of that slot to provide stability. If it's a thin piece of wood on each side of the slot, it makes it more susceptible to breaking. So I think probably what happened was over time, they did change some of the dimensions of the pieces to better fit what they were doing here. This is crazy to me because I'm looking at this and it's like, some of these pieces I just don't have. And I'm looking at some of their blocks for those little L-shaped pieces of wood. And it looks like I'm seeing grain pattern on there. It looks like it was all cut from one piece of wood. So it's like they actually made a block and then cut out that little L pattern in there, which is interesting. So it's not 2 pieces of wood. I think in my camera, it was a small piece of wood glued onto a larger piece of wood to make that L shape. And on these, it looked like they just took a block of wood and cut the L shape out of it. I don't know how much stronger or weaker that would be. It would depend on the grain direction as to how strong or weak that would be. So I have my thoughts on that too. But I think with like the pictures and the instructions, and then I can make modifications to some of the pieces that I do have in here, I think we're on our way. I think we're in good shape. So yeah, let me just switch back here. No comments, which is, I didn't expect any. If anybody's still here at this point in time, bless your soul. You are a patient person. That's all I can say. Hopefully when I get to building these pieces together, that'll be a little bit more interesting. This is not as interesting, but it's a necessary evil. And I would suggest whenever you're doing something along these lines to always take an accounting of the pieces and parts that you have. If you have a parts list and a piece list, make sure you've got everything you need before you start. Nothing is worse than getting 3/4 of the way through and then finding that you're missing pieces or parts. It's just totally frustrating. And that could be any project that you're putting together, whether it's a model or a puzzle or whatever. You get to a point where you're close, but then you can't go forward because you don't have the pieces, and that can be very frustrating. So this was even though it's a boring step in the process, it's a useful step. And like I said, now I've got a list of things that I can actually make and get the pieces that I need manufactured from my scrap wood, and then maybe just kind of scoot forward and get some of these pieces actually knocked out of here and kind of get this on its way to being built. That'll be fun. So that is today. I think we're going to wrap up now. It's 1:30. It's been a couple of hours. 11, 12, 2.5 hours. That took a long time. But anyway, if you are here, I'd ask you to hit the like button, but there's not much to like today. But if you wanted to, you could hit the like button. You can hit the dislike button, because if it was as boring as hell, then there's not a boring button, but if there was, I'd ask you to hit it. But if you want to follow, subscribe, like, all those things that you can do, I would appreciate it. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Well, I try to be at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. My name is Jeff. This is Jeff's Workshop, and you have a great day. I'm out of here.